What's happening, team? It's Liam from Lazarus Personal Training, and there is light at the end of the tunnel. Unless you've been living under a rock, you'll know that there is a roadmap to the end of lockdown. We have had announcements to say when we are planning on coming out of lockdown, hopefully if everything goes correctly. And what this potentially means is that wrestling shows can come back. And I know that there is anxiety and a little bit of worry around the fact of I don't feel ready for shows. You may have sat in lockdown and either lost muscle mass or gained some unwanted weight. How do we go around getting rid of that in preparation for when shows return? Now, with this roadmap, there is 17 weeks until the 21st of June, and that is when we should be out and back to normal life. And if you look at wrestling social media, there are a lot of companies that are using that as their point to go, we are holding shows here. So ideally, we want to be in show-ready shape by that point. Now, to backtrack a little bit, we have 7 weeks until gyms and wrestling training centers reopen. That means that you have 7 weeks to start putting stuff in place before we even get into the more serious training. What I would use this 7-week time period to do is to work on your routine. What do I mean by that? Well, think about when you want to train. When would you be going to wrestling training? When would you be going to the gym? And then start implementing those things right now. For myself, I like to work out in the morning, and I have that time to work out in the morning. So what I really need to start doing is getting up and working out at times where I would work out at the gym. I'm the first person to admit home workouts are not the same as gym workouts, and I'm not expecting it to feel the same. But if I can bring in a routine where I start working out as much as I want to be working out while I'm at the gym, it's going to come far less of a oh my god, what is happening when that time period comes in. So my first tip, especially in these first 7 weeks, set your routine in place, work out what works for you, how many times a week do you want to train, and then start implementing that from now. My second thing would be to look at your nutrition. We have a good phase of time before we get into our serious training where we can really work out the kinks of what might have been going wrong during our downtime in this lockdown. This could be a variety of things, but I would pick one thing to work on for a week, 2 weeks, and then go into your next habit and build from there. So for example, I like to snack on an evening, and that has become quite the problem. So something that I'm going to look at doing on the route to gyms reopening is pulling back on that snacking. Notice there, I didn't say that I'm going to stop snacking completely, because being honest, I just can't resist Lidl's crave variation that they do. It's the best. I would highly recommend it. So I'm probably going to have some of that at some point on a week, but if I can cut down on the amount that I've been having, that's going to be helpful. It might be a case of you lost some muscle mass over time because you haven't been having as much protein. Maybe it's a case where you need to start bringing your protein back up again. Maybe it's just a case of you just haven't been drinking water and you need something that you can put in place to just go, you know what, this week I am going to nail this thing, and we drink more water. But I would start steady and then build your way up into it, especially if you're worrying about this end point. Then from there, once we get into April, gyms and training schools reopen, and that's when we can get into our real training, and that is 10 weeks before shows restart again. So you have a 10-week time period to make some real change to your body, and actually that's a really good amount of time. This isn't just, oh god, we've got to get in shape for next weekend. You have 10 weeks. That's a good amount of time to work with. What I would say is that you need a plan. You need to work out how exactly do you want to hit these 10 weeks? What do you want to look like at the end of these 10 weeks? Because that's going to help you dictate what your training is going to look like. Also, you need to think, is it the case that I want to look like a pro wrestler, or is it the case that I want to feel more like a pro wrestler and move more like a pro wrestler? And then that's going to dictate where do we spend our time and energy. If it's a case that you want to look more like a pro wrestler and you want to change your body physique, then spend more time in the gym. If it's a case that you really feel like you've got a lot of ring rust, maybe it's about spending more time at a wrestling school. When it really comes down to it, I would prefer to see someone that is a good wrestler and not in the best nick than someone that is in really good nick but can't wrestle. But again, this comes down to personal preference, and that's a choice that you will have to make, and you'll have to work that out. But you have 10 weeks to either get as much ring rust off as possible or get in the best shape that you can to then get ready for the 21st of June. Yes, we might be able to have shows on the 21st of June going forward, but that's not to say that places will be running. Maybe promotions might not be ready to go forward. Everything that happened with Speaking Out, I think there's still so much to do in the realm of British wrestling that companies might just not be ready to come back at that point. So we might have panicked ready for the 21st of June for no reason. Might be a case of you don't feel ready to go on to shows when it comes to the 21st of June. Maybe it's a case of you just feel like you've got more that you need to get ready for. And there is no problem with saying, actually, I don't want to take this booking. If that place is worth your time, if that place is worth your effort, that promoter, that booker will understand if you don't feel like you're going to bring your best performance. And really, they should be happy that you said, you know what, I don't feel like I'm ready at this moment in time. If they go, you know what, forget you, I don't want you on my show because you've said no to a booking, then they are not worth your time, not worth your effort. Something that I want you to think about and consider is that 17 weeks is a long amount of time. There is a lot of time there for things to go to plan, and there's also a lot of time there for things to go astray and go off plan. And again, that's fine because that's life, but we need to take that into consideration. This 17 weeks is probably not going to be plain sailing throughout, especially if you have a family and a job to keep going and other commitments that you have. If you are lucky enough to be 20 years old with a part-time job and no other things going on, then yeah, you're probably going to end up in really good shape because you've got 17 weeks to nail in and lock on. And that 20-year-old can do that because I also went through that phase. But if you're older, if you don't have that time commitment, you can't compare yourself to that person. The only person that you can compare yourself to is you. Now, I'd give a basic guideline out of that, but you still might feel like you don't know where to start, don't know where to go, don't know where you want to end up. And if that's the case, please drop me a message and I would love to help you out. I have ways and means of doing it, and I think that actually I can help a lot of people in this time frame. So if you do have a question, please feel free to drop me a message and let's sort something out. If you've liked this video, give it a like. Share it if you think someone else would benefit from seeing this, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already because it massively helps. Once again, this is a framework in terms of the time that we've been given. There is no guarantee that any of this will happen, and we just sort of got to roll with that. But hopefully, I will see you all very soon.